Taylor came into our life due to luck, in my opinion.
We've lost our quorum. Well, I'm going to talk to them real quick. Yeah, go for it.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Children and Family Affairs Subcommittee meeting February the 10th, 2026. We're going to begin with Representative Alexander leading us in a prayer. So please stand and remain standing for the pledge, please.
Will you bow with me? Gracious Lord and Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come and serve your children and families across this state. What an honor it is to be here. But with it comes a lot of responsibilities, Lord, and we ask that you guide everything that we do in this committee so that our kids and our families have the best opportunities to grow and flourish in the state of Tennessee. In that precious and holy name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
You need to sign in.
Madam Clerk, would you please open the board? Members, have you signed on, each of you? Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
1 second.
Oh, hold on. Can we take it with her?
We have a quorum. I would say just call it.
Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll, please? Well, you're good. See if you can get them on.
She's already closed the vote. So it's
Okay,
it's fine.
that's okay. Would you please, it was my fault. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Madam Chair, you have 4 members present.
Thank you so much. Okay. Members, do we have any personal orders? Other than your voting thing? Seeing none, we're going to move on. After we have 2 bills today, and after the calendar today, we will hear presentations from the Department of Children's Services and Johnson's Pass. So stick around because these are real encouraging presentations that you wouldn't want to miss. So with our calendar, we'll start with item number 1, House Bill 1627 by Representative Leatherwood.
Motion.
Properly motion and second, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and committee. House Bill 1627, this is an administration bill. It just cleans up some outdated laws to match the current federal law and the current processes, practices for DHS, and appreciate your support.
Thank you, Representative Leatherwood. Are there any questions? Seeing none? Oh, questions been, Representative Keesling, you are recognized. Question's been called. Without objection, we will be voting on House Bill 1627, moving on to judiciary full. All those in, oh, would you please open the board, please? So please vote yes for yes and no for no. Would you please close the board and take the vote, please?
Madam Chair, you have 6 ayes and 0 nays.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Your bill moves on to judiciary.
Thank you.
Next, we have item number 2, House Bill 1766 by Representative Clements. Properly motion and second. You are recognized, Representative Clements.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just so glad all these fine people out here get to be entertained by my colleague up here.
We're just going to have to
So-
call him out of order, aren't we?
Please do at any moment. The committee, I appreciate your entertaining this bill. This was brought to me by Senator Ackberry, and it was brought to us by the Conservatorship Office of Metro and Davidson County and conservatorship attorneys across the state of Tennessee. For those, to refresh your memory, a conservatorship is a legal appointment for an adult to make decisions for another adult that lacks the decision-making capacity for one reason or another. Typically, persons with conservatorships are either born with profound disabilities or have lost decision-making capacity due to the age or dementia or something like that. And here in Tennessee, conservators are charged with making a decision that is in the best interest of the person with the disability and to use the least restrictive measures to do so. And so when making decisions based on the best interest of the respondent, there's an expectation of reasonable, regular contact with the individual or facility to ascertain their needs. And the status report is how the courts track the welfare of the person with a disability. So what is required under the code is that an annual accounting of an individual be provided every year to the court who's overseeing that conservatorship by the conservator. And so what this bill does is simply requires the conservator to make a statement concerning, they already have to make a statement concerning the physical or mental condition of that person with a disability. So what this bill simply does is makes them add on there the last time they saw that person. Right now, that is not required. And so the court, has no way to know when the last person, that time that conservator actually had contact with the individual they're overseeing to make sure that they're making the least restrictive needs. Now, the National Guardianship Association standard requires this, where they require guardian visits at least once per month. We're not requiring that. And Tennessee's not adopted these national standards. But what we do want to have is that annual accounting to be able to say when the last time they made contact with that individual. And that's all this bill does, is require the date of the fiduciary's last contact with the person with the disability on their annual accounting.
Members, are there any questions? Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
Thank you, Representative Clements, and thank you for bringing this bill. It's obviously something we need to protect the people in our state. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Representative Towns, you're recognized. Okay. All right. With no objection, we'll be voting on House Bill 1766, moving on to judiciary full. All those, would you please open the door, the board, Madam Clerk? Would you please close the board and take the vote, Madam Clerk?
Madam Chair, you have 6 ayes and 0 nays.
Thank you. So House Bill 1766 moves out to judiciary full.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And please call him out of order before he starts speaking.
See the clerk. Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
Before we go out of session, I'd like to recognize someone that came in afterwards, if that would be okay. I'd like y'all to meet Lisa Tipton. Lisa, stand up. Lisa heads up a program called Families Free in our area, which does a tremendous amount of work with drug courts and getting women rehabilitated, jobs and stuff, and being able to keep their children, and just does a phenomenal job in our area. And I just so glad to see her sweet face out here because she does a tremendous amount of work in our area. And I just wanted to recognize her.
Thank you for being
Please
here. Let's give
welcome
her
her.
applause. Without objection, we are going to go out of session. So first we have the Department of Children's Services. Would you please come forward and introduce yourself and who you're with, please?
Good
Thank you all very
afternoon.
much for being here too. So
Yes, good afternoon. Chair Lady Littleton and distinguished members of the committee, we are excited to be before you again this year. And I'm excited to be alongside my coworkers and peers and a number of folks here in the audience with us. I would like to take a moment to recognize as well and introduce Taylor Gerard, who is with us today. He's also going to be, I think, with Jonathan's path. Taylor is a person who is serving with us as a member of our legislative team. He's an intern with us and a person with lived experience. And he is also working with Jonathan's path. And he is just an exceptional young person. And we are so excited to have him with us for the legislative session.
could you please introduce yourself just for the record,
Yes,
please?
Margie Quinn, the Commissioner of Children's Services, and to my right is Jim Lehman, the Director of Legislative, and I have to my left Sammy Mayfair, who is the General Counsel, and Frank Mix, the Executive Director of Network Development. There we go. Okay, off we go. All right, so we want to give you a brief update on the state of the Department of Children's Services since we were here last year. This slide has several charts. We presented a couple of these in our budget hearing with the governor in November. They have some updated numbers in them. The top left is the total number of children in custody. This is a rolling yearly average number of kids in custody. And you can see that the decrease over time from fiscal year 2021 to 2026 is about 4%. I will tell you that when I took the position on September 1st of 2022, we had about 9,251 children in custody. And today we have 8,371 children in custody. And that is about a 10% reduction of the number of children in custody from our all-time high to our low of today. And we're seeing a dramatic decrease in the number of children in custody, I think in the last about 8 months. And we attribute that to several different prevention efforts, prevention strategies, as well as kind of opening up the back door. We say narrowing the front door and opening up the back door. I also think when you stabilize your workforce, be able to put the number of case managers into the field, hire and retain, improve practice, all things get better in the department. And we've been able to stabilize the workforce thanks to the increase in salaries that the legislature has approved, increase in training. I think things are just improving within the department. The bottom left is the assessment center versus transitional home stays. You can see that the average number of moves in placement for youth who are going through the assessment center, which is about a 30-day stay. It's a deep clinical look at a youth versus youth who are going into a transitional home and then right into placement. The number of times that a youth stays in placement is almost twice as long when they go through an assessment center. And we believe that this is because we learn so much more about that youth when they are in an assessment center versus when they do not go through an assessment center. So we feel like that has been a very, it's been a great addition to the array of services that we're offering through the department. And on the right-hand side, this is placement stability. And you can see that we've looked at the years 2016 through 2025. And you can see that in 2019, we had a real high 8.19 moves per 1,000 days in custody. And we are down to 4.47 moves per 1,000 days in custody. We're just under the national average for placement stability in the department. And we think this is great for kids. When we can stabilize placement and custodial placement, this is great for kids because every move is potentially traumatic for kids. Since last year, we want to talk about the advancement in placement. This is really Frank's, this is attributable to Frank and his work in placement. We have added 102 assessment and respite beds. We've added 164 treatment beds, and we have about 230 beds that we believe will come online in 2026. And so to date, since September of 2022, that brings us to 570 additional treatment beds in the state of Tennessee. That has supported about 3,700 children and youth. So when we bring on additional capacity in the system, that enables us to treat clinically more youth who require higher and higher levels of need. So what does that mean as well as keeping kids in the state for treatment versus sending them out of state? In 2025, we needed to send 256 children and youth out of state for treatment, specialized treatment. And this year, year to date, fiscal year to date, we've only had to send 37 children and youth out of state for specialized treatment. So when we are able to add capacity in the network in state, that means we send fewer children and youth out of state for treatment. And this is really exciting for us. As you know, one of the big initiatives that we've had for the department is our real estate initiative, which thanks to the General Assembly and Governor Lee is fully funded at $433 million. This is going to be a community-based resource for children, youth, and families. This is going to allow us to bring children and youth into custody in a very trauma-informed, trauma-responsive way. Within these wellness and welcome spaces, children will receive some clinical evaluation, some medical treatment, some dental treatment, which they have heretofore not had access to until they went into either a foster or kinship placement. This will be a real sort of one-stop shop, and it will be community-based, which we think is really exciting. No more sort of moving kids, I think, further and further away from home in order to find placement for them. And so on this map, you're gonna see the locations of the welcome places, the wellness places, and our two new youth development campuses. One, of course, is in Somerville and will be replacing the 52-year-old Wilder development, and we will be rebuilding the Woodland Hills development in Nashville. And our vision there is, of course, to replace those facilities with a far more clinical, rehabilitative, and vocational offering for our children and youth who are staying with us for short periods of time. These are renderings of what we anticipate these new spaces will look like. There will be 3 wellness places, one in each grand region of the state, one in Shelby County, one in Davidson County, and one in Knox County. They will be 20 beds in each of these facilities. The welcome places will be in the 6 locations that we just showed, and they will serve youth that are immediately entering care. They will provide short-term stabilization while permanency plans are created. There will also be spaces within the welcome places for family visitation, family reunification, child and family team meetings, therapy spaces, group therapy spaces, education, again, medical and dental. And we feel like the short-term stay there, 7 days or less in these particular places. Again, here's a rendering of what we anticipate a youth development campus would look like. And there will be, these are very modernized, clinically focused settings. When we are serving youth in a juvenile justice facility, they are with us for a short period of time, either a 6-month stay or potentially till they're 19 years of age. We want to make sure that they are ready to re-enter communities with education or skills. We want to partner with our TCATs for vocational training and skills building. And we want to make sure that they are paired with mentors and coaches so that when they re-enter communities, they do so with the best chance and the best advantage that we can provide for them. Transitioning to adulthood has become, I think, one of the more exciting programs that we're offering in the department. We've reimagined the transitioning into adulthood as Bright Futures. That has come also with legislative changes in the last year. We have extended Bright Future services to the age of 23, thanks to the General Assembly's vision. We are the first in the United States to extend Bright Future services to young adults 16 and over who exit foster care to adoption or subsidized permanent guardianship. Independent living allowance and housing stipends are doubled, and that's super exciting, from $14 a day to $28 a day. And we have just opened Lumen's Flat, which is a public-private housing complex in Knoxville. This was a partnership between Elmington, which is a private entity, and the city of Knoxville. The city of Knoxville put in $1 million. It is a renovated, abandoned, assisted living facility. It will be for 16 Bright Futures youth. They'll be able to stay there till they're 24 years of age using a HUD voucher. We will have 2 of our DCS case managers on site working with the youth on a daily basis. If I've learned anything through my nonprofit work, and I think through DCS work, everything begins and ends with safe and stable housing. So if we can offer these young people who are transitioning to adulthood with safe and stable housing, we can really set them up for success, I think, in the years to come. We would love to be able to do this in additional cities in our state. And as I said, this is first in the nation. No other state in the nation has been able to accomplish this. We are extremely proud of this initiative in our state. And so now I'd love to transition to talk just for a second about the Safe Baby Courts, because I think this is one of the most successful prevention programs, family reunification programs in our state. I'd love to toss this over to Sammy because she has really shepherded this program in our department, and I'd love to let her talk about it and brag about it for a minute.
Thank you, Commissioner. As you can see from our slide, by the end of this fiscal year, we'll have 32 Safe Baby Court sites operational in.
Excuse me, person, could you introduce yourself to the record, please?
Yes,
Thank
sorry,
you.
Chair Lady. My name is Sammy Mayfair, and I'm General Counsel for the Department of Children's Services. And I also have the privilege of, as Commissioner had said, I'm part of the 3-agency initiative that's responsible for Safe Baby Court. So I serve on that statewide leadership team as the DCS branch for Safe Baby Court statewide. And I have a partner at our sister agencies with the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services and the Administrative Office of the Court. So this 3-agency initiative is something that, has really taken strides to both expand across the state and ensure that we're doing what we can for this very vulnerable population. 32 Safe Baby Court sites will be implemented by the end of this fiscal year. Since inception of the Safe Baby Court program, we've served 754 families, which represents 1,315 children. And since inception as well, our average time to reunification of these children that we've served is 12 months. Last year, the families participating in Safe Baby Court received on average of 14 visits per month with their children, which is a significant amount of time because we know that that frequent family time is one of the key things to help aid toward reunification. We have also used $6 million in opioid funds to help support programming that is providing the supportive services to the families being served in Safe Baby Court. And we're seeing great outcomes from that program, particularly as well. And as we sit here today, there are 20 courts still on the waiting list, hoping to eventually get a Safe Baby Court.
And we would love to see those, at least 6 of those counties receive a Safe Baby Court. We love to continue to expand because the outcomes are significant. So I think one of the new initiatives that I'd love to talk about for 2026 is a permanency team. We are partnering with some of our external partners. We have a couple of more external partners that we are going to add to this list. But right now, we know that we're going to be partnering with Youth Villages and the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth, TCCY. We are going to be utilizing some internal staff. We want to attack the 750 youth who are long stayers in our department, who've been in custody longer than 15 months with no TPR filed. We want to find permanency for those youth. We want to see if they can be reunified with family. We want to see if there's kinship or relatives out there that we can find permanency for them with, or if we need to file a TPR and put them into a position where they can be adopted or find subsidized permanent guardianship. Either way, we need to attack this list and find permanency for these 750 kids who deserve permanency in their life. And so this is something that we're really excited about, making this a multi-agency effort. Not just, this is not about numbers for us. This is about permanency and safety for these kids who are in DCS custody. Every month, this list would grow if we're not intentionally looking at these kids. Our folks are really busy out there in the field. These cases sometimes can be incredibly complex. And so we need a dedicated team of individuals within our department and external partners helping us look at these cases specifically. What can we do on these cases? Is it one thing? Is it one meeting? Is it one court date? Is it helping a family with a permanency plan? Is it a resource within a family? What is it that we can do to help these kids find permanency? And so this is what we're going to dedicate ourselves to this next year. We're going to really intentionally look at this every day for the next 12 months and see how far we can get. So I want to just talk really briefly before we go to questions about what's coming up for us in 2026, because I think we've got some really exciting things going to happen for us in 2026. We have the real estate initiative groundbreakings. We expect to break ground on 9 of the 11 facilities in 2026 and early 2027. We hope that many of you will be joining us for these groundbreakings in your regions. We will have joint planning in May, where we bring all of our community partners alongside us for joint planning here in Nashville. We will have CFIRST, which is the Child and Family Information Record System and Tracking. That is the TFAX replacement. That will come online in October of 2026. I know that everybody, both internally and externally, is looking forward to a new records tracking system. And then we have the Taylor Initiative, which is our human trafficking collaborative, which is meeting twice a year. That will happen alongside joint planning, and that will happen as well in May. And these are some of the things that we're really looking forward to in 2026. And with that, I will invite your questions.
First, thank you very much. That was a great presentation, and to see those beautiful buildings that children will have to go into and their parents, it's, after seeing Wilder, it's really good news, and it looks like 100 times better. So thank you for the hard work and figuring out a way to make that happen. So thank you. Representative Harris, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady, and Commissioner. Obviously, I have a strong passion for some of these issues and things, and I know we've talked quite in detail about some of the matters going on in Shelby County, but I did have a few questions. And I just wanted to see if we can get some answers to those. The first question is the 2025 Comptroller audit noted that there was concerns that your placement stability data on slide 2 was not calculated correctly. Does the department consider transitional homes, DCS offices, and assessment centers as placements when calculating placement stability? That's the first part of the question. And then I have a second part to that one.
I'll take that one.
You're
I'm Frank
recognized.
Mix.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Frank Mix,
Recognized.
Executive Director of Network Development and Provider Relations. That measurement follows the federal measure, which is what all states are evaluated by. To your specific question, assessment center placements absolutely are included. There are some exclusions in the federal measure itself that exclude placements that occur in the first 30 days of a child's placement history. This is the national standard for which everyone is measured by, and so that's the measure we adopted.
So I would like to add on to that and say, based on our conversations with the comptroller and our internal auditors, we're considering different policy questions about how we calculate where children and youth are during their stay with us and how we report that both to the comptroller, to the General Assembly, and to the public. But as Director Mix stated, the way we report to AFCARs, we're doing so the way that the federal government requires us to, and what we discussed in slide 1 is AFCAR's data. And that is the way we compare to other states in the nation. But we understand that there is some question about how long a child or youth stays in a transitional home, or how many times they're moved between a transitional home and an office, or how many times a kid is moved in the first 30 days. If we are paying for placement, that counts in AFCAR's data. If there is a daily rate, that counts in AFCAR's data. So a foster care placement. When we came under Brian A., for instance, little Brian A. was moved over and over and over and over and over again in different foster placements. And because those were daily rate placements, all of those different placement moves counted. And so every time a child or youth is moved in a placement where there is a daily rate, that is counted. And so what we're looking at is we need to come up with a policy or a tracking mechanism where we can perhaps count separately where a child or youth is housed and how many times that child or youth is moved, separate from what AFCARS counts. I hope that.
Yes, that
Answer.
does. So
Representative Harris, you're recognized.
thank you. So we currently don't have that system right now that would track each individual placement.
We can track it individually per child. For instance, if you said, where was Johnny Smith? We can pull up Johnny Smith and tell you every day where was Johnny Smith. But the way our current TFAX works, and because there are 1,200 different tables in TFAX, pulling that aggregate data down in its entirety is virtually impossible for us. But I can tell you where every child is every day. But running a full report for every child for a year or for 6 months because of the way TFAX is configured is very, very, is virtually impossible.
Okay.
Representative Harris.
Thank you. I saw where it was reported of children staying at the assessment centers for months. Are children overstaying the 30-day timeline at assessment centers And where is that information kind of held? Like, is that information public record? Or where is that information held?
I think
Commissioner?
yes, ma'am. Thank you. I think the ideal is 30-day stay. There has to be a next placement for that youth. And assessment centers are for youth 13 to 17, right up to 18 years of age. So it's only youth in that age range that are in the assessment centers. So we're not talking about a youth that's younger than the age of 13. But there has to be a next placement for that youth to move into, whether that's a residential treatment facility, whether it's a step down into a specialized treatment foster home, maybe it's back to kinship or a relative, but there has to be that next placement opportunity. So in some cases it's 30 days or it's less than 30, slightly less than 30 days. Sometimes it's 40 days. I think right now the average is 42 days that a youth is staying in an assessment center. So again, sometimes it's slightly less, sometimes it's slightly more. Depends on the need of the kid and what that particular youth's next placement is, and where they need to go. And we would rather hold them at that really clinical assessment bed and make sure they're going to the right next placement.
One more, then we're going to move around and
Okay,
come
that's
back
fine.
to you if we have time.
My other question is, when I was going around doing the tour at one of the facilities, I thought about this question too, but which of the assessment centers are surrounded by barbed wire?
None.
And how many of the assessment centers are children allowed to be handcuffed or shackled for disciplinary reasons for transport?
Commissioner.
So none of the assessment centers have any barbed wire. They are fenced, but none have barbed wire. And I'm happy to take you to any of the assessment centers. They're not handcuffed and they're not shackled. Now, if they're come in with a serious juvenile justice charge, they may come in. And we do have a juvenile justice assessment center. And those youth, if they come in with a serious felony charge, they may come in handcuffed. But as soon as they come in, they are immediately unhandcuffed.
Okay. And I'll follow up later.
Representative Harris, I think you're thinking about Wilder. And
YOY and Wilder.
Wilder, and it's no longer.
I think he's talking about the YOI BPAC facility in Memphis. And I think I would love to just take you there and let you tour it.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman Doggett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner, and staff. Thank you for being with us today. I've got 3 questions, if I can ask those. The
And
first
don't you- If you
question.
have 3, just go back and forth and then,
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
That's right.
The first question I've got for you is, last year we made an appropriation to Viable. And I was wondering how that is working out or how it will work out with DCS going forward.
So, and I will tell you that I'm a big Viable fan. I've worked with Viable for a number of years. And they are about 50% through the year and into their expansion. Their goal was to work with 100 of our young people. I think they've worked so far with about 50 of our young people. And of course, they are expanding into 2 regions. They are expanding into the Tri-Cities and into Chattanooga, working with our extension of foster care youth, our Bright Futures youth. And I'm told by Ben Turner, who is here with us today, that is going exceptionally well. Of course, Viable is also working with human trafficking survivors. And he's working on the business side, preparing businesses to work with young people with trauma histories. That's really the secret sauce, I think, of Viable. That's always what I found to be the secret sauce of Viable, is that he doesn't just work one side of the issue. He's working both sides. He's working with the individuals and preparing them for the workforce, but he's also working with the workforce and preparing them to take on individuals who potentially have a trauma past. And I think that's where this is really a great marriage.
Well, thank you. I think it's a great program. Glad that we could appropriate those funds to do that, provide that service. My next two questions comes from the comptroller's audit that was announced or released back in December of this past year. The first question revolves around temporary housing. In the audit, it mentioned about a child in the Northeast that had stayed, I believe it was the Northeast, stayed 104 days in an office building. And then there was another child that averaged, I believe it was 18 days, or that was the average stay of a child was 18 days in a state office building. What are we doing going forward to ensure that this is not the case? Because I read examples of the survey that employees had submitted. I guess they were randomized, but some of them, it's very difficult to read to see that this is a state agency, and these are what the employees are saying. And furthermore, that these children are being housed, one child in particular, for 104 days in an office building. So what are we doing going forward to ensure that this is not the case for the children of our state?
So I think the long-term solution is obviously the real estate plan. This is what's going to, we think, ultimately solve children forevermore sort of staying in state offices. I will tell you that I think in the last 3 weeks-ish, we've not had any children or youth in a state office building. And we've had fewer than 25 children and youth in transitional homes since Christmas. This is an issue that we think is getting better and better and better and better. When I came into the position in September of 2022, we had an average of 120 kids in offices every single day. And any child in an office is one child too many in an office. I can come and talk to you about that particular case. I don't want to talk about it publicly. I think that for kids who stay long-term in an office or a transitional home, sometimes there is a very, very specific reason. It's not a good reason. There's never a good enough reason in my mind. But I think that we are working our way out of this problem. We have a plan to work our way out of this problem. You all have funded the plan to work us out of this problem. And it's getting better, and it's going to get better. And I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for anything we've done in the past. We have a provider now that's been licensed as of mid-December that's going to be able to take over the sitting, I think, in the regions for our staff, which I think will help tremendously. And we lost 2 of our transitional homes in the Northeast, which created, I think, some challenges for us with regards to kids in offices. We'll be looking in the next, I think, month to 2 months with, I think, locating additional homes in the Northeast so that we do not have to ever go back to an office again. We're hoping that the first transitional or the first welcome place that we break ground on will be in Jonesboro in the Northeast. And so we feel like that will be the first one we probably cut a ribbon on. But hopefully in the next couple of months, we will have 2 new transitional homes in the Northeast, which will negate us ever having to put a kid in an office in the Northeast. But in the last 2 to 3 weeks, we've not had any kids in offices statewide. That's
Great news. And then my final question, page 126 of the audit, the comptroller mentions an instance where a child went without insulin for 2 weeks that was in temporary housing. And so my question is, how are we, or what are we doing to address the medical needs of these children while they are in your custody?
I think that's a valid question. We are working with our nurses. We have nursing staff. We are working with our program coordinators and Thompson and looking at the contract. I think it's clear that we are not doing enough to look at the med management. Our case managers are not nurses, and they should not be probably dispensing medicine like insulin. It's one thing to dispense Tylenol. It's another thing to dispense insulin. But again, the ultimate solution is that we have a space like a welcome center where you have a medical facility. And if you've seen the draft floor plans, which I provided to government operations, where you have a medical facility, a dental facility on site, that's where our nurses will work out of, or we'll have contract nurses working out of 24/7. I mean, that's ultimately the solution. I mean, DCS has just never had facilities to bring kids into care. I don't know why they never had facilities to bring kids into care. I'm not sure why this plan was never brought forth in the decades prior to. And of course, none of us have a magic wand. We can't just snap them into being, but we are going to work our way out of this problem. And in the meantime, we're going to do a better job of monitoring what's going on in the transitional homes.
Fantastic. Thank you. Let us know what we can do to help. We want to make sure that every child is safe and secure and has the love and warmth that we would love them to see them have. But there's a lot of things that I think we need to improve on and look at going forward. So thank you very much.
You're right. And thank you for your questions.
Representative Towns, you're recognized.
Thank you as well, Commissioner. You certainly are to be commended in the area where you improved by 10%. That's really good. Hopefully we get another 10 or 15% next year.
Yes.
Going in that direction. That's really good. Kids staying in these offices, have y'all analyzed the psychic impact on the children? Does that prevent them from, succeeding and progressing while they're in the office versus the other setting?
I can't say that we have. I think that as a nation, we're looking at, what the unintended consequences of policies like FFPSA have had on child welfare. What did the wholesale closing down of group homes have on child welfare? I mean, we just decimated our ability to place kids all across this nation, not just in the state of Tennessee, but everywhere. And we just had a deficit of places to place kids. And so once COVID hit and everywhere lost massive numbers of foster homes, not just in Tennessee, but everywhere, there was no place to put kids. And everywhere across this nation, you saw states putting kids in offices, in hotels, all over the place. I mean, in Tennessee, we've never put a kid in a hotel. Not to my knowledge, have we ever put a kid in a hotel, a child or a youth in a hotel.
Okay.
We just made a decision we were not going to do that. We didn't think it was safe. We have put children in offices with rollaway beds, with cots and blankets and pillows and things like that. But we have not put children in hotels. And again, that is getting fewer and fewer and fewer. And in the last 3 weeks, no children in offices and fewer than 22 kids in transitional homes since Christmas. This is getting better and better and better. And we have a plan, and it's going to continue to improve because the legislature has resourced DCS with historic resources. We have been able to do what we have been able to do. The 10% reduction is because the General Assembly has resourced this agency. We would not be where we are today. Children would not be where they are today if the General Assembly had not provided the resources that they have provided. And we are grateful. We are grateful.
You're
Chair,
recognized. You can go back and forth.
Thank you for that.
Excuse me, Representative, could you ask a couple more questions? We're running out of time.
Yeah, I
because we
got
have
two
another
more.
presentation.
I'll make it
Y'all
quick.
can go back and forth.
Thank you. Sometimes we, General Assembly, we get it right. And that's good to know. My other question is concerning the safety of children. Say when you found that some child has been violated, how do we track and are we prosecuting the violators? And do we have the data to show what we're doing?
I think that's a great question. So we have an administration bill that's moving this year. Jim, you want to talk about that? No, the safe environments.
Please introduce yourself for the record.
Jim Lehman, Legislative Director. Commissioner asked that I talk about one of our administration bills. I believe it is House Bill 2526. Is a bill about ensuring that we have the most appropriate places to put kids. So Commissioner talked a lot today about adding placement capacity and beds to our system. Well, we have an issue where we are receiving children into custody that are dependent and neglected. The court has ruled them dependent and neglected, but their behaviors don't match what you would think of as a abused or a neglected or an abandoned child. These are children who, youth many times who have very serious delinquency charges. They are oftentimes the ones that we really struggle to find placement with. They can be ones that are in transitional homes and those kinds of things. So this bill would allow us to place them in places that keep both them and our staff safe. So that's what that piece of legislation is referring to.
The other piece is when youth in facilities are engaged in assaults against one another or engaged in assaults against staff members, heretofore, they are not being held accountable. They are not being charged with those crimes, those delinquent offenses. And that lack of accountability, I think, gives rise to additional violent behavior within our facilities. I think that's unsafe for youth who are vulnerable. And we need to put a stop to that. Youth need to be charged and held accountable for assaults against other youth and assaults against staff. They at least need to be told you will be held accountable if you engage in violence against other youth or other staff members. Youth need to feel like they're safe while they are in our care. And if we can't keep them safe because they're afraid of other youth, I'm not sure how we combat that. But they have to be held accountable, and we have to work with the juvenile courts to be able to do that.
Last one.
One more.
Sure. Look, and thank you for that. Certainly, you got to have safety for everybody concerned. My emphasis also is on whether, just say there's a staff member or some adult or some people coming from external places abusing the people that are in your care. That's important to me as well. Are we tracking those people and making sure these are grown folks that they are prosecuted? I don't know how much of it goes on. I mean, I know about human trafficking, a few other things, but I'd like to know, if you can't answer today, we just have to get that information to us. What are we doing to make sure that they are safe? They are safe. Obviously, the kids got a lot of problems, a lot of stress, a lot of trauma, but I want to make sure that we are protecting them as well.
I think we investigate everything that we get a report of. And if we can gather the evidence and substantiate the cause, substantiate the allegation, we substantiate the allegation. Everything we have evidence to substantiate or bring to SIPIT in order to get criminal charges brought, we bring to SIPIT. We are required by law to bring the case to SIPIT. And then it's up to SIPIT whether or not to substantiate a case, and assistant district attorneys sit on SIPIT, and it is up to law enforcement and the DA whether or not to bring a criminal case.
So y'all are tracking that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Madam Chair, thank you.
Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
I'll go fast.
Okay,
Okay.
y'all can go back and forth.
Okay.
And then we're going to.
All right. We talked about welcome places, community-based, so the children can go to a dentist and a doctor and everything while they're there. That's the one that allows you to stay 7 days. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you're doing that, so I think you answered my question by answering someone else's question concerning you have a medical facility inside that building and a dentist office inside that building. So we're not necessarily taking children to a dentist in our town. The dentist is coming to that facility. Is that correct? Or is that the plan to use community? Because you talked about it would be a community-based thing.
So I think we can do either or. I think if a child or youth is in that facility less than 7 days, they're in and out, if you will, we certainly still have the option of using a community dentist or medical provider. But if a youth is there long enough, they can see a contracted dental provider, contracted medical provider while they're in the facility, which would satisfy our current policy and statute, which is every child needs a medical screening and a dental screening when they come into care.
Okay. And I'm assuming that every child that comes into your care is under 10 care.
No, ma'am,
Not
not every
necessarily.
child. That's correct.
Okay. All right. Second question is, you mentioned 7,817 foster care under your foster care right now program?
Correct.
Okay. With 723 qualifying. Does that mean that's a waiting list?
No, ma'am. That's the number of children that have been in custody more than 15 months without a termination of parental rights petition or a compelling reason documented.
Okay, great. Okay. And one last question. Do we find that we're losing foster care parents? Do we have enough families that are willing to step up? Because I know in my region, as you well know, we probably have the most kids in DCS custody than anywhere in the
You certainly
state.
have
a
a
lot
cluster of counties that are bringing a lot of kids into care.
into care, and which would be due to our, I assume due to our opioid issue
to-
that we had
Due
up
to some
in
issues,
Northeast.
correct, right.
And so we've got kids that are coming into your care that have been exposed to drugs, and
Neglect.
multiple things
Right.
that cause children with issues that make foster care parents go, I'm not sure that I want, so I'm just concerned about it.
So I think we're holding our own
Okay,
with regards to the number of foster care families.
okay,
I don't think we're gaining ground right now.
okay,
But I don't think we're necessarily losing ground. I think the efforts that we're making right now, the digital efforts we're making, we've kind of gone high tech, have allowed us to maintain.
okay,
But we're maintaining level 1 foster care homes. The issue is we don't have a lot of level 1 kids coming into custody. Level 1 kids coming into custody, which are just kids that don't require a lot of high level care. Those are going right back out to kinship, to relative care. The relative caregiver program is, of course, at max liability at $32 million. There are 600 kids waiting for relative caregiver, 600 families. So there are empty level 1 foster care homes.
okay.
Um,
But
we've
they
got
can't care for a child with specific needs.
with high needs,
Yeah.
with
trauma.
well, to put it nicely, yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've got level 2, level 3, level 4 kids coming into custody that really don't match well with a level 1 foster care home.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank y'all for being here.
Yes.
Representative Harris, and y'all just go back and forth,
It's
but
my
quickly, please.
last- yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
for your
Chair.
patience.
Thank you, Chair. And Commissioner, I know you mentioned the new buildings and real estate, but there were concerns raised in a recent TASER study on facility capacity. and in the 2025 comptroller's audit related to lack of oversight in juvenile justice facilities that you approve and license, what changes in the department planning when it comes to oversight of the juvenile justice facilities?
Go ahead.
I would say one really huge thing for us, Jim Lehman, legislative director, and we've been working on it for several years, is updating our rules regarding the licensing standard for juvenile detention centers. They have not, Sammy can correct me, they haven't been updated in close to 10 years, I think, or maybe longer. So we're looking forward to getting those updated. They, I believe, are with the Attorney General's office, so they should be filed with the Government Operations Committee within the next couple of months, hopefully. I know that's a really big thing for us, is just having more modern standards on what all of those juvenile detention centers have to follow the rules and things. Anything else? Yeah.
And the only other thing I would add is I know that, as a result of the audit and some of the recommendations of the comptroller, we've worked closely with our licensing staff, and we are modifying some of the things that we're doing before we go out on site for those visits. We have been conducting fairly frequent unannounced visits for the various facilities. We do comprehensive restrictive behavior management overviews. So we're just continuing to improve on those efforts that we already had in place.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank y'all very much for being here. The slideshow, I enjoyed seeing those new buildings and the job that you've done. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
So next we'll hear from Carrie Durard, Executive Director and co-founder of Jonathan's Path. If you would please come forward and introduce yourself and who you're with, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Carrie Durard. This is my son, Taylor Durard. I have been a foster parent for over 7 years and adopted our son at the age of 18. And he joined us just before his 16th birthday. And I'm here to talk about the teenagers that are in foster care, the ones that are hard to place that you just heard about that are not level 1, that are the levels 2s and level 3s that deserve the family placement, not the residential placement, and how we came about Jonathan's Path. So I'd like to start off by showing a quick video that reflects the lived experiences that we are here to talk about today. Taylor came into our life due to luck, in my opinion. I always tell them that he's always been mine. It just took me a long time to find him. He was in the foster care system. They knew that we were one of the few families that would accept teenage boys for permanent placement, and that we were open to the idea of adoption.
When I met Mom and Dad over Zoom, it felt weird at first. I didn't know them from a stranger on the street.
He will tell you he did not like us in the beginning.
Even though I would try to single myself out because I didn't feel comfortable, they would still include me in everything. I wasn't the foster kid, I was a Durard.
Taylor's background is the worst of the worst. He suffered through years of unspeakable trauma, watching his older brother die in front of him.
Jonathan was Taylor's older brother that passed away in the home due to the severe abuse that the boys endured.
He was a very kind, very, very loving person. When he died, my entire world died with him, and I just stopped caring. I didn't care if tomorrow came.
We have pictures of him in the house because we want Taylor to know that we welcome him, even though he's not here with us physically. But I wish that he had made it out.
The only driving force I had was telling my brother's story.
If his loss gave you this tragedy in your life, how can you use that to help someone, to change lives? Every young person that we impact with Jonathan's Path is a result of Taylor. His story and his willingness to share that story is, frankly, what pulls people in. We have the unique opportunity to impact our big community, our country. And we do this truly one youth at a time.
And that's why I am who I am today, is because somebody stepped up and said, hey, I care about you.
So, Jonathan, thank you. Thanks. So as you can see, Jonathan's path is built on lived experience as foster parents, is built on lived experience from our son and the many young men that we've had in our home. And it is built on the fact of we understand what it takes to raise the kids that need to be raised in our communities. And had Jonathan made it into our foster care system 7 years ago, I can tell you neither of the boys would be together right now, just because it wasn't built for siblings, and especially young adult siblings back then. So our lessons and what we have learned is that our teenagers are the most vulnerable in the population, and yet it's not built for them. Meaning the system was never designed to parent adolescents. It was designed to place them and to care for them and then reunite them. But most of the kids that we see today are needing the parenting part. They're needing the consistent adult and the stable housing that launches them into adulthood. We know that teens that experience disruption at higher rates have fewer permanency outcomes, significantly higher rates of aging out. And when that happens, the downstream impacts is not just on the child, but on the state as well. And even when resources exist, sometimes the teens have struggled to access them. May it be transportation or system complexity or the absence of an adult to really cater to their needs and help them navigate the system. The most important lesson that we learned is that housing is not the finish line. It is the foundation at which we have to raise the kids. Without housing, the therapy doesn't stick, the education is disrupted, and employment becomes very difficult. So within 6 months, we've taken 2 young adults that were housing instability. They were able to gain full-time employment with our support, driver's license. Both the young ladies also earned vehicles and are now in their own apartments. Before that, they were on a federal voucher for free rent, and it took us 6 months to get them launched. And what they needed was a stable adult that understood how to get them there. Now, housing is we just talked about foster parents. I am one. And I can tell you the teens in foster care either have foster parents or a facility, group home, congregated care option. And we're not growing in foster parents, especially the level 2s and level 3s, which is what we need. And that's really the option that we can step into as a community partner. Jonathan's Path has served over 251 kids, over our almost 800 services, and most of our youth are male, which is the hardest to place. We focus on kids that are 13 to 23. So we follow them consistently all the way through the system. It's not just before and not just after. And our only focus is to make sure that these kids have an opportunity, like my son, to live out their dream and do what they want to do. And we do that through two ways. One is called the Path Line. It ensures no small barriers become life-altering crises. That means they can reach out to us and raise their hand and say, I need. And that need can be anything. It can be, I need a therapist without having to wait 3 months. I need braces because TennCare doesn't cover it and I have an awful smile. I don't even like my face. I need a hug. That happened. So he was Ubered to my home and he got his hug. It's not just about one thing. The housing is where we shine. The housing is where we know there's a middle ground between foster homes where we know they bounce, especially the level 2s and the level 3s, and the facilities. In our path homes that we are launching, the home remains constant and the kids remain constant in the homes. Our professional live-in caregivers 24/7, 365, not a staff, will rotate out after their 1, 3, 5, 10 years of service. The kids get to stay in the home, in their communities, in their schools. And they don't have to leave that home at 18. Just like my son didn't have to leave our home at 18. They leave when they are ready to launch to that next step, and that is what we do. And so today, as a foster parent, as an adoptive parent, and as someone who understands what it takes to launch the kids, we're asking for the state to support the Path Home model. The model that says there's an in-between method that is desperately needed in our communities for teens, male and female, that are that level 2 and level 3 that need to find that safe place to land. Thank you so much. We're open to your questions.
I guess, again, we want to thank you so much, and look at what a nice young man you have there who is interning here with DCS. So that makes it even extra special. So we're so thankful that it all worked out. We're sorry about your brother, but we're thankful that you're here with us.
Thank you, Representative.
Are there any questions? Representative Alexander.
So these are homes with multiple kids in them.
No more than 3 kids.
Okay, no more than 3 kids.
At a time, yes.
At a time. And they go there prior to being in foster care, or they go there from foster care, or they to another foster care home. Can you explain that again to me? I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. When a teen comes into foster care and they're a level 2 and there's level 1 homes that are sitting empty, there's not a level 2 home, the Path Home would be an option for them.
Can you tell me what a level 2 home would be like?
Sure.
Like, tell me what a level 2 child would be like.
Technically, I think you were a level 2, maybe a level 2, level 3. It's a youth that has had many traumas and maybe triggers, maybe behaviors that are from those experiences they've had.
And do you find it hard to get someone to stay in that home as a parent? Is it 2 parents? Is it a male and a female there? I mean, or, because I would think having just one woman there and 3 teenage boys say, hey, you're not going to tell me what to do.
I like to see them try that at my house. It doesn't work out too well.
Yeah, right.
I think it depends on the person. We would prefer to have a husband and wife in the home. We believe that gives them a good balance of understanding how relationships work. It's a good modeling approach. But we also understand that there are some young men and young women that really do not respond well to one gender. As a foster mom, a lot of the young men that we had in our home had mother figures in their life that were less than kind.
Right.
So it depends on the child. We're all about matching the right child with the right home, with the right caregiver. And we understand there's not any options or not a lot of options for these level 2, level 3 kiddos.
How many do you have of these?
We're looking to launch our first one within the next few months.
Okay. For your testimony.
Of course.
Any other questions? Seeing none, without objection, we're going, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So, and I look forward to working with you. I'll see you, I guess, weekly, maybe with the DCS when they come to my office once a week. So anyway, looking forward to it, and thank you so much.
Thank you so
So
much.
without objection, we are back in session. Seeing no further business, without objection, we stand adjourned.